I've learned one thing in life, if there's one thing I know, hoes are gonna hoe. If I've learned one thing in life, if there's one thing I know, hoes are gonna hoe. Hoes are gonna hoe. Hoes are gonna hoe. The gluck gluck 9,000, the fuck 9,000. Hoes are gonna hoe. Now you might think she's hoed too hard. Yeah, she's done the whole 9 yards. But wait, you might think she's hoed too hard. Yeah, she's done the whole 9 yards. But see, she's done the whole 9 yards. But there's always a retard. All right, guys, as you guys know, please put a word in the chat and I will write a song. The Hoes Are Gonna Hoe is inspired by Bonnie Blue. A lot of people think, oh, Bonnie Blue, it was her parents. No. Oh, my kid'll never do it. My mother would never do it. It's always the relatives that would never do it. But you have to understand, women, we're two-faced bitch creatures. You have no idea what we would do alone in Cancun. You don't know. You don't. And I think we got to get these cocky, it's the cockiest dads that always have whore daughters. I got to be honest here. It's the dads that say that would never happen to me. You guys always end up with whore daughters. It's the ones that are kind of like, well, it could happen. These are the consequences. Do what you're going to do. Yeah. Someone put a lyric. Hoes are gonna hoe. They'll blow and go. Hoes are gonna hoe. They'll blow and go. Give me another. Give me another word. We'll keep going. I had someone say to me that my Black Fatigue song was stuck in their head for like 2 days. Should I release it? Would that be the end of my career? On a 1 to 10, how over would my career be if I released a Black Fatigue song? Thank you for the $2 super chat. Thank you. Any song requests here? Not real song. You got to give me a word. If not, I'll move on to the show. Let's put on a show and talk about the hoes. Cocktail generation gives in to temptation. Hoes are gonna hoe. They don't wanna grow. Hoes are gonna hoe. And now you want a simp song for after. All right, because obviously somebody's got to marry him after, and that's where you guys come in. We should do a thank you to the simp song. There's a lot of, it could go like this. There's a lot of people that do thankless jobs in this country. There's a lot of men that they're doing the job that nobody wants to do. And, when a hoe makes a lot of bad decisions, somebody's got to be the cleanup guy. And we want to thank all of you. Shout out to the simps. Somebody's got to... Wait. Shout out to the simps. Somebody's got to clean up after the pimps. The simps. You can't get her at 20, but you'll get her at 32. After she's fucked you and you. Thank you to the simps. Somebody's up after the pimps. We don't know what we do without you. Somebody's gotta be a stepdad. That kid ain't gonna raise itself. He needs a role model, and it's obviously not gonna be Gloctavius, Tyrone, and Chad. Thank you to the simps for doing the thankless jobs in this country. For being the stepdads, it ain't all that bad. Shout out to the simps. Oh, her ex is in jail, you'll just overlook it. Oh, she was abused, somebody's gotta cook it. I know that somebody's gotta buy all of these whores' lies. Like, no, I didn't fuck him. I didn't do that. They're just liars. Haha. Deny. Oh, you gotta keep up the lie. Honey, I found this sex tape. It really looks like you. Darling, I don't know what you're talking about. That's definitely not me. He says, I know your body. But she's gonna lie and he's gonna just believe it. Thank you to the simps for cleaning up after the pimps. Thank you to the simps. Deny, lie to simps. All right, now you guys want me to add in trauma. She says she got trauma. She said she has trauma, and she does. That happens after you fuck a lot of thugs. She said she's got trauma, yeah, she do. She didn't get a call back from you and you and you. She says, what are we? And he says, nothing. Bitch, I just wanna keep fucking. But then a simp comes along and he hears this song and he does the thing that, and he gets it all wrong, but we can't tell him. Thank you to the simps. Somebody's gotta do it. Somebody's really gotta go through it. All right, let's see. All right, someone. Is there anyone else? Have you considered a record label? Oh, yeah. Let me just call up the record labels and say, yeah, I want to make a song about black fatigue and simp. And let me see how that goes when the majority of pop music is consumed by women. Yeah, they're going to say, right this way, Pearl. Yeah. Yeah, daddy. Oh, you want to talk about them not having dads. Now, in the old days, whores didn't have dads. But now the ones with fathers are just as bad. And it's because they saw their mothers get away with murder. So they know that they can do it too. So now we have Bonnie Blue, who's gonna fuck you and you and you. Now you want me to do the wall. Our mic's still good, right? Thank you for the $20. You're killing me. All right. I gained 20 pounds. I have $50,000 worth of debt. Another dude cracked and hasn't called back yet. Oh, and all the walls are closing in. The consequences of a life of sin. I guess it's time to lower my standards. I guess it's time to go from pimps to simps. And I never wanted to do it, but I have to go through it. 'cause I'm getting old and barren, I guess. The wall, when women start to get ugly and infertile. The wall, when the babies start being retarded, you know. You made a wife out of a hoe, and you'll never know. Actually, these days they put on a show, and you can find it on Google. Thank you. I really think that should have a standing ovation. Not actually. Yeah, I need a drummer and a bass player. Someone needs to step up. Okay. I always hear this. You need this and this and this. I'm like, guys, are you going to pay for it? Really? Are you going to? Do you know how expensive YouTube channels of this production quality? Let me just pay a band. Let me just add that to my, I'm learning piano so I can be a one-man band. I can play guitar too. So I was like, it'll be like the Tonight Show, except it'll just be me. That's the vision I have here. But let me go do my show. All right, so today we are talking about Bonnie Blue, and one of my fans actually requested I react to this sit-down interview. As a society, we're just so fascinated with whores. My fans, it's not like they don't request me to react to an evolutionary psychologist or an academic. They say, can you react to this whore? Please, I am so fascinated by this super slut. Can you blame the super sluts for being super sluts? I mean, I think about all the men that accomplished things that don't get involved. I see why Rollo is such a bitter guy, to be honest. I really do. I mean, I would probably be bitter too if I was in his position. I mean, can you imagine you get looked over on all these platforms after doing this for 20 years and they just say, here you go, super slut. Here's the interview. And they're softball interviews. I'm like, nobody's this fascinated by me. Isn't that annoying? Oh, wait, that's not the full one. So, there's this idea. A lot of people think they can control the universe. And I'd like to say for my younger listeners on there, especially if you're women, because women, this is something we do not. Men understand this a lot easier. We don't understand this. But there's a sort of freedom in accepting everything's going to get worse. There really is. I actually think life begins on the other side of it because there's nothing worse than selling people hope. And there's this idea that if you have a daughter or a sister, you can stop them from being a whore. And I just want you to know that if you have kids and they're girls, there's a good chance they'll be whores. There's a good chance your sons will marry whores. There's a good chance you'll marry a whore and you won't even know. I mean, what are you going to do? Check the Punani mileage? Good luck. I mean, but there's a sort of freedom with that, that comes with knowing that you just can't control it. They're going to do what they're going to do. You cannot control another human being, especially one that is drunk on power like most of us ladies are. Here it is. So we are going to react to Bonnie Blue. And I'd like to say, I've always said Bonnie Blue understands men better than most conservative women. I have watched this woman on podcasts, right? She is more likable. I don't know the woman she's being interviewed with. I don't know her work. We'll see. But you'll notice that Bonnie Blue is always dressed in a way that's appealing to men. Her makeup's done, she doesn't have tattoos. Her makeup's light, but it's not super. She has light work done, nothing crazy. Her body is kind of what men like. And in her social interactions, what I've noticed is while other women want to argue and get offended, she just says, I'm a whore. And she just sits there. And anybody that gets mad or yells at her, she doesn't bicker with them. She doesn't nag them. She just sits there. And you know what? You wonder why. I was speaking to someone the other day, and they told me they lost their husband to a stripper. And she was like, I was married, and my husband left me for a stripper. And that's a big L in life. Sometimes you just got to eat that. I mean, that's an L. But you got to wonder, what did you do to drive him to a stripper? You know what I mean? And usually they got fat, right? Another thing is strippers, men in a way want to be manipulated. They really do. The same way, like when you go into a restaurant, you want the server to be nice to you, even if the server secretly hates you. You kind of want like a baseline level of like niceness and manipulation, and to give them extra tips, right? You want to feel like good. And men love that feeling. And strippers and a lot of sex workers, hookers, women like Bonnie Blue, they've studied men in a way that conservative women have a tendency, you would have noticed, they don't really pay attention as much, or at least the trad e-girls. Like, compare Bonnie Blue to like Candace Owens. Candace Owens is very masculine, right? Her demeanor, the way she talks. She doesn't dress like a whore, and she doesn't bang 1,000 dudes on camera, right? But a lot of guys would look at her and say, I'll take the woman that's nice to me, and I guess she's a super slut, but at least she's nice, right? I think that sometimes the right-wing women, that's why they're kind of known for being stuck up, because generally speaking, the women with good personalities, they tend to either be apolitical or even liberal, right? Because they can get away with that. Where usually the worse the personality, the more likely, just my experience, to be right, because they're making up for something. So they got to say the words that, they can't do the actions men like throw it back, gluck, gluck, 9,000. So twerking on that, you know what I mean? So they got to go the route of selling purity. Now, that might work if, right-wing, conservative-leaning women had a reputation for being pure, but I got to be honest, ladies, we suck. Like, we just, you know what I mean? Like, when the right-wing e-girls, like when we have phrases like Catholic schoolgirls, and we know the connotation with that, right? Preacher's daughter. This to me, these connotations, we all know what that means, right? We all know known for being super sluts. And the more you tell women not to do something, the more they want to do it behind your back. That's like our psychology. I'm dead serious. The more you're indifferent, like they can't hurt or phase you. But once women know they can hurt you by doing said thing, that's when women want to do it more, and it makes the sex way hotter. Like, what's better? Like, let's just be real here. What's better sex for like a young woman? The sex that is okay, or the sex that's like, oh, we're not supposed to be doing? We're messed up. Do you know what I mean? So, anyways, my point is this: I don't think there's much control that right wing, left wing, parents can really have over their kids. I think women are kind of whores from a young age. And once you can't really stop a whore from whoring, and trying to stop her, it's just going to make her want to do it more. Like I heard Alex, I think it was Alex Clark. She was bitching about birth control. I think she had this whole nagging rant about, oh, I was put on birth control at 16. And I'm thinking, well, why? Your parents have your best interests at heart. I don't know if it was her or someone she was talking about. Why would a parent put a 16-year-old on birth control? Can we think about it? What were you doing that made the parents say, oh, we better put her on birth control? They always want to play so innocent. Like, oh, I was just this innocent girl who had heavy periods and they put me on birth control. Bullshit. That's bullshit. I mean, just own it. At least Bonnie Blue, what I appreciate about Bonnie Blue is she owns the whoring. She owns it. But you'll see. So we'll start this interview. We'll start it. If you have something to say, put it in the chat also. I don't know how long I'll be on YouTube. I do think if I get kicked off again, that'll be the end of my career. because I can't go through another demonetization. I can't. So unless we get enough signups on the website. So if you do like the content, it's $10 a month. If we get enough people on it, then we can be YouTube free. But yeah, I'm happy with this new regime. If we get enough people on it, then we can be YouTube. I'm happy with this new regime, but we'll see. Okay. You said follow her steps, Pearl. Really? You want me to bang 1,000 dudes on really? I mean, it's like you said go for it. I'm just going to play the video. Big data companies know body count better than the 304 can remember. How many people do you have on Audacity now? Not enough, I'll tell you what. And I need to get more people on the website, and then I can put more time into like developing it. But I used to do these weekly like YouTube sessions, but nobody would show up. No offense to you guys, but I would analyze your YouTube channels. If you want to do it again, put it in the comments, but it didn't get a lot of traction.
Louise, why were you interested in sitting down with Bonnie?
I find it really interesting.
See, we are just fascinated by whores. We are.
I think that a lot of it, just having talked to women about doing this conversation, the response from so many women is, I think, something like morbid curiosity.
Yeah.
Like interested in you, confused by you.
Yeah.
And wondering, I mean, the main thing that I'm hoping to learn about you today, because obviously I know about your work, is your psychology, your personality, what it is about you that's led you to do this.
Yeah.
Because I get the impression from having watched interviews with you and so on, that actually, I over the years, I've interviewed loads and loads of women or spoken to loads and loads of women who've been in the sex industry in various ways, whether that's porn or prostitution or brothels, street walking, whatever. And every single case, they've talked about distress, trauma, or...
Yeah, that's bullshit. Okay, so that's... When women say that it's distress and trauma of them doing their sex work, that is them marketing to simps who will believe it. They will believe it. It's incredible what simps will believe. They get a woman as hot as Bonnie Blue. It's like the hottest girl they've ever banged in their life. You can't speak reason. Like, the whore will have banged like 3 of their friends, and they're like, oh, she's special. You can't, it's incredible once you've seen it. That's why women that are mid hate hot women so much, because they can literally get away with murder. There's things like, I'd consider myself a mid. There's things I've seen hot women do. I could never. I would not have that kind of bias. I've seen hot women get into relationships and marry, 4 different men in the same friend group, and the 4th one married her. Isn't that incredible? That, like, she blew one and was like situationship. He wanted to date her. She said, no, I'm good. Then she moved on to guy number 2, dated him for like a year and a half, broke up. Then she moved on to guy number 3. He did dump her, but whatever. And then she married guy number 4. Like, do you know how incredible that is? When you're an 8, you could do it. Because the men, they just have a way of rationalizing. I don't know. I know. Redhead mid, Yeah, I know. I mean, I know, you kind of got to know where you are in the world. It's not an insult. Most people are mid. I'll tell you when I knew I was mid. I'll tell you the day I knew. So, I went to the weekend actually had my whole team go to their concert. So like they let us go backstage. It was really cool. My producers got to it was so fun. And there was women at this concert that I met. Their whole job was just to be hot and go to these concerts and go to these events. And I knew because I had never been invited. You know what I mean? I guess I was through the show, I guess in this instant, but their whole existence was just paid for. And I just thought to myself, well, I've never had that offer. You know what I mean? That's never, And I think as a woman, especially if you're a young woman, you really got to know where you fall, because men do kind of view you as a price tag. And the worst advice I've seen women, dating advice I've seen given for women, is they tell old women to raise their price, or like, oh, now you got to make them wait 3 months. I'm like, yeah, at 29, 32, that is the worst. 35, you want to wait till marriage now when you're halfway through life, bitch. And I'm like, yeah, you're never going to get a buyer because you're charging. If you were a 9, you could do that. Like Sierra and Russell Wilson, she could re-wait till marriage because she's that hot. You know, when a girl's that hot, you can just demand, like, you're a sports car. You are a sports car. You can charge sports car prices. But imagine if you're a Honda Civic and you come in and you're just like, yeah, I want sports car prices. There's just going to be no buyers. If I'm being honest, I see a lot of this is the problem at a lot of I was in like a non-denominational church for like a year and a half, 2 years, and it was all these mid women. Oh my God, all these mid women waiting till marriage. I've never seen so many single women. They just marry the pastor. It's such an interesting, I swear to God, because they go like, they talk to the pastor like he's their, like the pastor has to approve of the men. I'm like, what kind of, so I was thinking about this. I'm like, she really submits to the pastor and not to the husband, because the husband has to go through the pastor to get the mid-ram through women. I was like, this is a terrible way to do this. This is not going to work. And I remember I was on this female retreat and I knew I had to leave this church. I was kind of trying to figure out what religion I wanted to be, because I just got out of school and I was like looking at all, like, 'cause I grew up Catholic, and I was reevaluating. And I just remember sitting there, and it was like all these 25 to 35-year-old women re-waiting till marriage. And I just thought, that is the worst idea I've ever heard in my life. And there's like a single woman church pipeline, because they get all the family and community from the church. So it's like, why build one with a guy? And usually there's one, like, or two Chads in the church. And you either get the demon time Chads there or the wholesome Chads. So the demon times, I mean, they just run through the whole church. I mean, that's like the guy in the band or whatever. But usually the young Chad, he'll just marry pretty much the hottest, purest girl. And that's kind of how it goes. And then all the other women will just, hope he changes his mind. Anyways, this is just what I saw. You could tell me if it's wrong, but yeah, I'm just like, that is the worst. Because I'm like, let me get this straight. A used car, but you're charging new car. Good luck. Good luck. I mean, this is the problem you get with that, right? The women have no respect for the guys. They really don't. Because imagine if you're a salesman, right? And you gave a guy a bad deal, you just kind of are going to view him as a sucker forever. And do you know what's even worse about these churches? Oh my gosh, the women give speeches about their whoredom. So not only, I swear to God, not only does the guy have to like purchase this used car for new prices, but usually the women are a little hotter than they could do in their normal life, so they can get it. Not only does he have to do that, he also has to listen to her give speeches basically apologizing for being a whore. So she has to go in front of the church and give a speech how lost, broken, whatever she was. And then, like, that's like when you get initiated, that's what the girls do. They like come in, talk about how she used to be a whore. And then now I found this husband. There are a few girls that do wait till marriage. There are a few. So that does happen. I mean, allegedly, who knows? But yeah, I'm just being honest here with what I saw. And that was just, I was just thinking, you've just increased, and you know what, if she's really hot, she can do that. If she's an 8, the guy's like, do you know what, I get to bang these big tits, this huge ass, this small waist. I'll do it, whatever. I'll humiliate myself. I don't care. But when you have a girl that looks kind of like this girl on the chat, this is kind of what they looked like, actually. I would say this is like the average. And she's not an unattractive woman, right? But do you know what I mean? That's just a lot to go through. Like, it's kind of like, this should be a discount. This should be like a mega sale. But instead, you've witnessed that as well. I know it's a madness. That's why I say, to be honest, women, like, conservative dating advice works for women if you're like below 25. But look, if you're above 25, that ship has sailed. You're cooked. And I got to be honest, you're cooked because dude is going to assume you've at least blown somebody. I mean, come on, like, guys aren't dumb anymore. Now men used to be dumb. Men used to be so, oh my God, like 10 years ago, women could say anything because there was no evidence. But the problem is now women got on TikTok and said, yeah, I did whore out, and we have it on camera. So the women that would say that privately before, now it's like recorded on podcasts or whatever. And the men are kind of wising up. They're like, this is the dumbest deal I have ever heard in my life. And this is kind of what's happening. There's like there's kind of a shift. He says guilty. Yeah, I know. Back in the day, that's why I don't really believe these old women that say, oh, we weren't like that back in the day, because I think I've seen this film before. Like, you know what I mean? I've seen the right-wing e-girls do it. And this one right-wing e-girl I know, I mean, you know, she was making fun of me. That's always what they do. They make fun of me, whatever. And, you know, I'm not going to say I don't want people to figure out who it is, but I'll just say the dirt that I found out about her, or allegedly, was way, and I'm like, how are you talking to me this way when you did that? That's how I felt about it. That's how, I'm not going to say, but all right, we'll continue. Back in the day, shame was real, Pearl. No, I just, you know, again, we're going to go back to women. The more shame you put on, the more women just find different ways to bang. Like, you don't understand the lengths. I mean, women leave the Amish to go bang guys. Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I've seen like leaving the Amish women that go to New York City. Bang. Yeah, you did not want to bring shame back to the family. That's true. So women did it privately, not publicly. I mean, and you can look up historical accounts. I mean, the old feminists back in the day, you can even find divorce scandals in like the 20s, you know. Oh, for God's sake, I've lost all hope now. No, you shouldn't. Whores are on sale. Look, you shouldn't. Look it, because as a guy, you can now bang women that kings only, like, if you become one of the top guys, you can have access to women you never should have had access to. Historically, you only got one. Now you can like run through Tinder. I know it's difficult, and you probably are rolling your eyes. You're like, Pearl, you have no fucking idea. I know, you know, that's true. That's true. I'm just, that's true. But I have seen guys pull like 4 women in a weekend. I went to these like PUA boot camps where they just like teach guys how to get laid. And oh my God, at that weekend, I realized we really are sharing that. If you don't know, PUA is like social skills, essentially. They teach men how to like have sex with women. And they just go to like a city for a weekend. They try to bang as many women as they can. That's kind of what it is. And I'm nosy, so I got to tag along on one of these trips. It was one of my first YouTube videos. I was having a great time. And it would be so fun. I'd be like, get her. I'd be like, go for that one. And so anyways, and I saw this, one of the instructors, 4 different girls, and these were attractive women. These are somebody's future wife. I mean, this dude ran through like 100 girls a year. Think about that, one dude, 100 girls a year. Maybe he was exaggerating. Let's cut it to 50. I'd still believe it. Think about how many women that is with one dude. Do the math. That's a lot of people's future wives. STD catching is a challenge. Do you know what? I think most people that catch something, it's because they're not using condoms or they just took an L. I mean, maybe they wouldn't tell me if they did catch something. I don't know, but I think the challenge is people like having sex raw. You know, they just they dive right in there. Even if I'm a Chad and I'm lucky, I'll never end up in a good relationship. It's insane. No, that's not true. You can end up in a good relationship. She'll just probably have baggage. I mean, look, it just is what it is. You know, that's what's on the menu. 1% marriageable women. Good luck, fellas.
All time, like to varying degrees.
Yeah.
You don't talk about that. And I think that you're telling the truth. I think actually you don't find this work causes you psychological harm.
Yeah.
And I guess I want to find out why. I think
Yeah.
that's a really interesting question.
Yeah. No, I think it's good because everyone always assumes. And even when I say multiple times, I'm not traumatized, I've not had a bad upbringing, everyone thinks I'm lying. And it's really not the case. And it's terrible for some people. Unfortunately, they've had a bad.
That's true. Many whores have good upbringings and 2 parents. We got to stop with this notion it's daddy issues. Do you know what? I actually think no father in some ways can be better than a weak father, because a weak father is just teaching the daughter how to treat men. I mean, at least if there's no dad, you know, the daughter knows if you're bad enough, he will leave you. I think that's the challenge you get when women get leverage. We're just not great with it.
Upbringing or terrible things have happened. But for me, I've just chosen to do this.
How familiar are you with Louise's work? Do you know what she writes about? Are you familiar with any
No,
of her
I'm
background?
not, unfortunately.
Okay, what's the 30,000-foot view to explain to Bonnie sort of your philosophical underpinnings?
So I guess I'm coming at this as a conservative.
Yeah.
And I wrote a book called The Case Against the Sexual Revolution. I'm generally critical of the sexual revolution.
Okay, remember, they'll be critical of the sexual revolution. But the whole thing, if she's married, you just say, did you... And this was you know what? Is this clip still on Twitter? If it's still on Twitter, this was the funniest clip I've ever had in my life. Pearl Lauren Chen. There was, hold on. Oh, here we go. Oh, this was the funniest thing I've ever done. Okay. It all crumbles down. Let's not play pretend about sex outside of marriage, that sort of thing. But let's not play pretend. 3% of people are waiting till they're married. That's not really common. I mean, was anyone here virgin on their wedding night? Anyone? No? Okay. The silence was so loud. So, you know, and that's always kind of what it comes down to. It's always like, oh, it was a mistake. Or, oh, I'm like, really? You didn't enjoy it at all? You just hated the whole thing, huh? That's so convenient. So convenient. Oh, your simps might buy that, but I don't. It might not have worked out the way you wanted it to. But that's life. You can't have anything in life without taking risks. I mean, you think things don't work out for men sometimes? It's just, you know. I mean, women will bang one dude and then bang his best friend. You know what? There are men that'll do it, but not as much, you know.
And porn. I worked in a rape crisis centre before I became a journalist, which I guess has informed my...
All sounds very intelligent.
Bless you. And my general view on the sex industry is like very negative. So we're going to come at this from different perspectives. But I do I'm guessing that a lot of people listening are going to assume that I'm going to try and like uncover trauma in you, or I'm going to try and like break through the...
You'd waste your time.
And I actually think that's right. And that's part of the reason I'm more interested in talking to you than I would be to say Lily Phillips.
Yeah.
Because I think that Lily to me and to a lot of people, I think it's clear that Lily is actually suffering quite a lot and is having a hard time.
She seems traumatized.
Right. Which is, in a way, the less interesting story.
It's more obvious.
Yeah.
And it is horrible. Like, I'm very lucky and fortunate to be in the position I'm in because I'm not traumatized, I'm not upset, I'm not distressed. But I think for a lot of people,
And again, women after, they have to say they were distressed. Oh, and I just hated it. Somebody's got to believe it. It can be you guys. It can be you guys. Why not? Somebody has to.
and especially a lot of sex workers, they're completely out of their comfort zone, or they're doing.
Because here's, oh, I just thought of a whiteboard video. Okay. I got, what? Oh, it's dead. Oh, it's dead. Okay. Well, I'll just say it here. So women have a choice, right? So women can go for men out of their league and take the risk of getting pumped and dumped and ghosted, or go for men in their league. But women want both, right? We want the security of not, like, we want to eliminate all risk. We're like, we want what we want, and we want to take no risk to get it. Like, men have to endure risk in order to get a woman. They have to get rejected a million times. They have to learn social skills. They have to learn how to talk to, for men to even get laid, it takes a lot. Something that we will never understand, ever. But women, we want to go for the top guys and not have to compete. We want to go for the top guys and have no risk of getting ghosted. That's just never going to happen. And then you say, well, why don't you go for someone on your level? And then we're like, no, we can't do that. Well, can't have both. Can't have both, one or the other.
Unfortunately, they've had a bad upbringing, which has led them to be a sex worker. And it is terrible and it is horrible. And it's not always the nicest of industries for most people.
Would you advise Lily to stop?
Yeah, I think if you're going to keep crying and upset and it's destroying your family, there's some things which are a lot more valuable than money and views. The biggest thing in life, and it's so simple, is to be happy. And if you're not happy, why do something? Because yes, you could be driving fancy cars and, you could wear flashy clothes, but if you're not happy, well, then what is it all for? Like, as long as each day I'm waking up happy and I'm going to sleep happy, I'll be proud of myself. Other people might be disgusted in me, and I accept that. But for me, as long as I'm happy, then that's okay.
What bit of it makes you happy of what you're doing?
It's a mixture. There's not one thing. It's not like, oh, it's the orgasm. Oh, it's the money. It's the views. The main part of it is the life I live now, both inside of work and outside. Like, I get to travel the world. I go on trips I would have dreamed of.
And most women, if we're being honest at our core, we would rather do this than be married. You got to think about what options you're giving women. Okay, we just got to, most rational people would pick this. I think even men would pick it. If you gave men the choice, if you said, men, you get to have 10 kids and have a 5-wife, or you get to be a celebrity. Men are good people, so they might not, but it would even be tempting for men if they were in the position where they could have a harem of women that were way hotter than the 5 from their high school and live like a celebrity, go to all the best events, travel. Most women would rather do that. Again, we'd rather share a top guy than be faithful to an average guy. We do not want average men. That is what women have really shown by our actions. Now, conservatives they love to say women are just tricked by feminism. They don't know what they're doing. It's propaganda. No, it's pretty rational when you think about it. Because when women are in marriage, you have to give up a sense of freedom. Women want the ability to have sex with the hot guys and give up no freedom. That's why women worship women like Taylor Swift and Kim Kardashian, because they both look good even at an older age, and they still have the ability to get alpha, quote unquote alphas, top guys, even in an older age. That's the female dream. That's the dream. I don't say this as this is a good thing or it should be this way. But when you think about it, it makes perfectly rational sense. They're saying in the chat, I would do it. Yeah. Yeah, she could You know, she could go marry the guy from her high school, or she could be on a celebrity, go on all these podcasts. And she already likes whoring anyway, so I mean, what's a little more, you know?
And I don't feel disgusting when I'm at work or when I'm filming. I'm surrounded with men which are giving me compliments, and it gives me a massive confidence boost. So there's no set answer of what makes me happy. There's no part of my job I don't really enjoy. Like, yes, it can become tiring and it can be hard work at times, but no one becomes successful or lives a really happy life without facing some challenges.
Would you, I mean, something I've often wondered about with anyone on OnlyFans
Yeah.
is you could presumably have landed a rich husband.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you had set
But
that.
remember, you got the female point of view. That would require giving up freedom. The way she is now, she can live where she wants. She can do what she wants. Getting a rich husband would require giving up what she wants to do and being controlled by someone. Do most people want to give up control or do what they want? It's like very rational when you think about it. Like, that's why I never bought this whole women are like tricked. I'm like, tricked? I mean, okay, at 18, we're given the choice. Do you want to go party at college for 4 years? Or do you want to marry your high school sweetheart? And we're like, eh. Then they said, okay, you get out of college. And they say, well, did you land the chat at college? And some women will bow out then. They'll get the chat at college and they'll say, okay, good enough. Or do you want to go to the city and party there and get like an easy job and just have fun in the city, rack up debt that someone else can pay for later? And the women are like, ooh, I want option 2. It's very rational. We gotta, to some extent, it's easy to moralize, but I try to some extent, humanize. You wouldn't think me, right? Of all people, you know, on some extent, you know, we gotta humanize women. Crowdsourced beta bucks allows for the alpha fucks to last forever. Yeah, it's interesting because you get the beta bucks, you get the attention from the internet. And usually women get beta bucks from just all different areas of their life. Like the dad will fix their problems, the brothers will fix their problems. So the only thing they need in a husband is fuck or a boyfriend, you know, or the government will fix their problem. There's always like a bailout until they get too much debt. That's usually the wall. Not going.
Your goal to be like the most successful gold digger in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And you would have achieved all of that, the travel, the living somewhere lovely, all of this without the sex side of it.
I see them as more of a sex worker than me because they're using their sex appeal. They're using sex to pleasure their partner. Their partner is then going to fund their lifestyle. Their partner is then going to pay for holidays, fancy clothes. They're using sex just like I am. However, I'm not afraid to admit I use sex to get what I want. Whereas those people become very snobby, very uptight. They look down on most people. Yet they're still using their holes to pay their bills. It's just someone else is doing it, but I'm independent.
So you're like the more honest.
I actually think she's wrong about that because women don't fuck their husbands. So I actually think she's wrong about that because if that were true, then women would have to have sex with the husbands, and women do not. It's called the bait and switch.
Authentic version.
For sure. Like, there's nothing I lie about. There's nothing people call me a slut, slag, whatever, and I accept that. And people call me a sex worker because I am. Whereas if I was to say, look, you've married your husband purely for his money, in return you give him sex, they'd be like, no, I'm not a sex worker. If they stopped giving him sex, he's going to leave and go elsewhere. But they can't. They need his money.
So is it also the vulnerability? Like I think at this point you've earned so much money.
Yeah.
You're set up for life, I would guess. Whereas I suppose a woman with a rich husband at any moment, he could just pull the rug.
They're on contract.
Yeah. They've got a longer shift than I have.
Well, so the rich husband, I disagree with the leave because obviously we can just steal his wealth, child support, alimony, all that. But again, it's the giving up the freedom. That's why you hear women say, I'm trying to not moralize this, but when women say I lost myself in marriage, it's I had to be somebody that I'm not in order to get the resources and the attention from these guys. That's why I say men that understand women, usually the alpha fucks, women have a tendency to be able to be themselves more because the beta bucks guys have a tendency to have these expectations, like they expect the woman to be pure. They expect the woman, and I'm not saying these expectations are wrong. I'm just saying in 2025, it's more and more rare. And even if the woman is pure at the time, usually if you really dig, they're only pure for a period of time until they crack. Forever is a long time. You know what I mean? Like, I try to humanize it in some way. Forever is a long time, especially in this country where you have leverage on your husband. Let me read the supers. Hold on. Let me pull them up on my computer. It's playing. You gonna do the sound? It's playing the video.
I used to have the most structured life. I knew exactly what I'd be doing on a Tuesday at midday, where I'd be getting lunch from. And now I don't have a plan, because sometimes when you have a plan, you become so fixated on the future, what 1 year looks like, what 2 years, 5 years down the line looks like. And then you dismiss everyday happiness. You become so fixated on what the future looks like. You forget to live your life and live in this moment in time. So I can't say, oh, it's going to be 5 years or 10 years, because it might be in 1 year. I no longer enjoy it, so I'll stop. So there's no set plan, and that's okay. I much prefer my life now, even though I don't know what or where I'm going to be tomorrow, let alone 5 years. And you can't always say, like, when you was young, you'd enjoy going to the park, and then when you're a bit older, you might.
I actually think I hate that I'm agreeing with Bonnie Blue. It's weird. That's the annoying thing about her is she's such a super slut, but sometimes she says things in podcasts that kind of make sense. I hate that. That's a more realistic approach. Everybody thinks they know how the future is going to go, and nobody really does. Deleted Dak. Yo, Pearl, champ, been watching your streams for a minute. I respect the grind. Not a lot of women out there that stay logical and grounded like you. Solid takes, and the piano work is on point, W. My piano work is not really on point, if I'm being honest. But I appreciate it. I'm getting better, I think. Williamson brought her on. He has no shame, I do declare. I could judge him for it, but I'm reacting to it. So aren't I part of the problem too? I'm dying here. You got to stop. You're killing me. $2 super chat. Okay, we'll keep going.
And goes to bird watching. Like, it always varies. So I can't say what's going to make me happy now is going to make me happy in 10 years.
Do you think it would be difficult for you to stop, given that you've attached so much of your notoriety and sense of identity to this thing, that if you've made a big song and dance about this is what I want to do, that if you no longer want to do it, there is going to be this social consistency bias, this sort of momentum that's behind you where you go, fuck, like every person that said she's not built for it or this isn't going to be right, I'm going to have to now do this U-turn, whether it is self-generated or externally imposed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That you have this sense of obligation to what you promised in the past about what you wanted right now.
Yeah.
I imagine that even you would struggle. There's going to be a sense of, fuck, like I've got this weird obligation, identity obligation that I used to have.
I completely understand where you're coming from, but no, because I don't care. I don't really get peer pressured into doing anything. If I think something, I'll do it. And if I don't want to do something, I'm very stubborn and I won't do it. So, and I've always said, I might not be doing it in 10 years. I might be doing it in 10 years. It depends if it makes me happy or not. And even if I sat here today and said, I'm definitely doing this in 10 years, and then if in 5 years I change my mind, that's fine because I'm in control. And the big difference between me and other sex work.
That's more honest. Because that's really how women think. You know, the women that are dishonest, I think that's why people kind of respect Bonnie. No, respect is a strong word, but why people are fascinated because she's actually being honest, where women that get married, I mean, they don't know if they're going to stay. They leave half the time. They definitely don't know. So I mean, that mentality is actually more realistic than a lot of what people say. Oh, wait, wrong one.
Is I understand my limits. I understand my body and what I can take or what I can't take. So I'm never left distressed, or I'm never left thinking that was too much for me to handle, because, I sort of know what I can and can't do.
Well, have you ever hit your limit?
Not yet.
Right.
I've been
it's
very
kind of
close
easy.
to.
Okay, tell me about that.
I did a really big scene in America. So I'd always done, obviously, I did the 1,000 in January. And then I did one in the US in like March or April with 50 porn stars. And their penises are a lot bigger than the average person, the way they have sex, the way it's incredibly rough at times. And that was hard. And I went into it quite naive. I was thinking, well, I've done 1,000, what's 50? But that 50 was really hard.
How so?
Just very intense. It was rough. There was times where I could not see at all. Like my eyes were completely filled with fluids. And yet there's some positions which I was like, no, I need to switch this up. It's actually feeling, a bit painful. But that was fine as long as I'm able to say, hey, I need to switch this position up. Like you could be having sex with one person sometimes and you think, okay, no, my legs are flinching. I need to switch this. But you have to speak up. You can't sort of sit there and go through something painful and then blame everyone else for you being in pain. Because if you don't tell someone it hurts, then how are they going to know?
You say a bit painful. I mean, I think most women are like bowled over at the thought of how painful it would be.
Yeah.
Do you think that you're unusual, like not wanting to get into
Anatomy.
Yeah, although it feels funny saying that to Bonnie Blue. Do you have like more physical endurance? Do
you know how ironic it is? She says, "Oh, like I could never do that," but yet she's so interested in it. Do you know what I mean? Like imagine you're like, "Oh, I could never do Bitcoin." But like what? But you're asking like 20 million questions about Bitcoin. You're like, are you sure you don't want to do Bitcoin? It's just that's kind of the women. Look, all women have the urge to be a super slut. Some women think about the consequences. Some women have too much to lose. But all women have that urge. It's in us, unfortunately.
No, I mean, I've always said I've been very athletic. I've always been quite fit and healthy. But no, like when I first started, I didn't really understand what turned me on and what I enjoyed a lot more. Like when I'm enjoying it, I find I'm able to have sex a lot rougher. So now if I need to take more breaks, I will. I don't feel panicked to sort of know I don't ever think, oh, I need to know what I'm doing right now. If I think, you know what, actually, could I have someone to lick me out for 5 minutes before we go again? I'll happily speak up and say that. So, but I do think I have a good level of endurance.
How about emotional endurance? Because another thing that a lot of women will think is, like, frankly, a lot of these guys are gross. Like, I've seen videos of your queues and of the guys who show up to the events, and they can be old, they can be fat. Like, probably some of them smell, I'm guessing. Like,
see, honestly, everyone says this, but in terms of the smell, like, yeah, some of them are skinny, some are fat, like, some are spotty, some aren't, but that's normal. Like, but in terms of smell, genuinely, they never smell. And I think it's because they're so nervous. They know they're coming to me.
They've maxed out on links before they show up.
100%.
Yeah.
They know they're coming to me purely for sex. So they have showered just before I came. They freshen up just before they come in. So in terms of smell, no. But even in terms of body shapes, I used to say, oh, fat people are lazy. Like, they actually irritate me. But then when I became a sex worker and I'd start to speak to these men a lot more, yeah, some of them are fat, and I'd speak to them and realise they're not necessarily fat all the time because they're lazy. Their life is so busy. They've got children now. They're trying to pay bills. They're trying to keep on top of things, and they can no longer prioritise, clean eating all the time in the gym. So I don't even judge the fat ones anymore. Like,
how nice of you.
I used to.
But you don't get any sense of like physically recoiling. Like, I don't fancy this man. You never get that?
One, most of them have a blue ski mask on. So in terms of their face.
Face-wise, no.
Yeah. I think if I really found someone unattractive, the part I've struggled with most is the kissing. Because
damn,
to me, that's very...
I've heard women say that before, actually. Like having sex with a guy you've never kissed. I've heard that before.
I don't know, you connect a lot when you kiss someone. But no, like, I don't always even see their face. And I know this is going to repulse a lot of people, but I love the fact there's like always a rotation. I don't even always know I've had sex with someone. I don't always know who's inside of me. But no, I don't get repulsed. I sort of see everyone as they're there for a reason. I don't know what's happening behind their closed doors, and I'm there purely to give them a good experience. And that's all I sort of focus on. Some of them I obviously
All
find
right,
more
so
attractive than others.
again, that mentality. Imagine if wives had the mentality of, oh, I'm just here to give him a good experience. How much better the experience would be for men. That's why a lot of men go the prostitution route. And that's why a lot of sex workers get married. This is an uncomfortable reality. People don't like this. But a lot of the women that engage in soft prostitution, as long as there's no big digital footprint, a lot get married. A lot do. Even the ones with digital footprints. You know, we all have this idea that women will have consequences for their actions. Not really. Not really. Never. Pretty much never. So.
The ones I'm like, oh, I wouldn't date you. But even if you walk past someone attractive in the street, that's not what's going to make you come. It's the way they are, their technique. And I can remember when I was a full service worker, one of my clients, he was a bit bigger. I didn't find him attractive. And if anything, he repulsed me a little bit.
I know, they're saying she's more understanding than normal women. How understanding are normal women? I'm telling you, you got to look at the way a lot of these sex workers act, the top ones, because there's a reason that men are subscribing to them. Even Sophie Richie, the OnlyFans girl, if you look at how she poses, the stuff she does, it's all catered to men. I don't know if it's their personality or if they're taught by some sort of pimp or whatever. But look, there's something you can learn. She has demon eyes. I don't really think so. I think she just has had Botox.
He made me orgasm. And I was like, oh God, should I be disgusted in myself that this guy that I don't find attractive has just made me come? And then I realized it's not to do with their looks, it's their technique and how they treat me in the bedroom. That you could have slept with someone really attractive and they're terrible in bed.
So you do have a threshold. Like sometimes you will find men slightly repulsive at least, but it's not so high a threshold that basically everyone.
Obviously, I look at different people and think you're more attractive than the other person. I prefer your body shape to the other one. Like everyone's got preferences, and I know I have, but I never look at someone and think, I don't want you near me.
Interesting. I remember Rachel Moran, who is she was prostituted as a teenager in Dublin.
Yeah.
Something that she says to women to try and like help them to understand what it's like to be in prostitution is imagine being on a bus or in a cafe or something and look around at every single man in that room and think, I have to have sex with every single one of these men, like old, young, fat, whatever. And she uses that as the thought experiment for women because overwhelmingly they respond like, ugh. And what's unusual about you is you don't respond, ugh.
Yeah.
You actually
I think if they were
embrace it.
smelly and like stuff like that, that'd really get me like smell. I just think stick some deodorant on or have a shower, like. But because they don't smell, like that's my biggest thing. I think it's smell, especially because they're going to be in my mouth and I'm licking them.
Yeah.
But in terms of looks, I really don't judge, and I probably used to. But
have
now,
you trained yourself out of it a bit?
Not trained myself. I've spoke to them for years now and hours on end. Like if someone's got bad skin, it's not their fault all the time. Sometimes it's because they've got a terrible diet and they're lazy and they're not washing their face and everything else. But some people just have bad skin. Some people are super skinny. Some people are fat. And I'm always very open-minded. And I think that's allowed me to drop the judgment and drop the you repulse me, because I might see someone really fat and some of them come in with genuinely not even an inch and they're massive and I can barely find it. But I think, you know what? You've come to the event. Like, this might really boost your confidence. I don't know. You might be really stressing outside of this. You might be having a bad life. And
like
there's probably a reason.
How many women put themselves in their husband's shoes? Has a woman ever done that? One in the chat if a woman's ever done that. Two, if that's never happened. You've never heard a woman think outside of herself. It's just not. It's kind of crazy how she dresses more classy than a lot of women.
And of why you're so fat. But I just want to give you a good, you know.
It's very philanthropic in that way. What do you think sex is for? Do you think of it as something? Is it sacred, relational, recreational, nothing? Is it the same as walking?
It's a hobby. It's fun. and there's not really much to it before, like, else I think about it. Before, like, I used to have a really low body count prior to being a sex worker. I couldn't imagine having sex with someone unless I was dating them, or unless I imagined, I wasn't having sex on a first date. Now it's within seconds. But to me now, sex is just it doesn't have to mean something. I can still enjoy it. It's an orgasm, and it's as simple as that.
Before, how old were you when you became a sex worker?
24. I'm doing 2 years, so 20.
And that was
24.
straight into OnlyFans?
Yeah, well, I did cam in for a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Maybe for like 2 to 4 weeks I did cam in, and that really boosted my confidence. And then I set up OnlyFans.
So before then...
And that's common. Women, I mean, ask the men that have sex tapes, whose idea was it? I'm serious. It's not women are like, tee-hee, I would never do that. And then in the bedroom, they're like, whip out your phone, Look, and there's like TikTok and Instagram reels that go viral about this stuff because men are told one thing and then they start banging women, and it's just whoredom.
You said you had a low body count. You wouldn't do like gangbangs off camera.
And this is the other thing. There's no guarantee your mother, your wife, your sister, whatever, is going to stay not a whore just because she's not a whore now. Remember, there's a lot of forces really pushing the sisters, to the wives, the mothers, the daughters to be whores. There's a lot of stuff. The friends are going to be pushing it. The institutions are going to be pushed. I mean, when I went to college, oh my God, I got to tell you guys, I forgot this happened. I went to school. Oh, okay. Have you seen the movie Hitch, anybody? If you're younger, you might not have, but it was like a movie about a dating coach, a guy who was a male dating coach. And he helped this like fat guy get this woman out of his league, pretty much. And the guy that movie was based on came to our college, and it was so weird. They separated us from our parents. And I can't remember exactly what this guy talked about because this was 10 years ago. All I remember was him talking about what are erotic zones for women, like what parts of our body turn, like he was saying like neck. I'm not going to get too into it, but, and I remember sitting there like, why aren't I at, and this was a conservative, like Christian school. This was like this small town in Ohio, and it was like, and so, you might drop your kid off at a conservative Christian school. My parents were conservative and Christian, and I had a sister who was a diehard feminist for a while. I fixed her. Don't worry. I tell my dad I'll take the credit. But when she was like a diehard feminist, do you know who gave her those ideas? It was like a horse trainer. It was a trainer for horse. So we hired you don't know who's in your kid's ear or what accounts they're going to start watching. No, I wasn't getting rizzed up in this presentation. It was like this, I don't know. This dude was weird. I got to be honest. This was weird. I wonder if there's like YouTube videos of these presentations, but they did separate us from our parents for it. And he told all the guys and the girls to dump their high school boyfriends and girlfriends because it wasn't going to work out, which is true. They would call it the Thanksgiving breakup. Everyone goes home for Thanksgiving and dumps whoever the hell they came with because they've been cheating for a month and a half, or they have their eyes set on who they're going to cheat with. Yeah, if your girl goes to college, you're cooked.
That's what you know for.
So prior to that, I was married and in a long-term relationship.
Yeah. And so, like, where's this come from? Where's this massive change in your sexual preferences?
To start with, money.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go back to work. I used to work in recruitment, long hours, restricted annual leave, and I lived the same life as everybody else. And then they sit and complain about it.
I heard that you worked at Poundland when you were young.
Yes, I did. That was quite bad, to be honest. I can remember someone pissed in a potty and gave it to me. And
both the fact that it's called Poundland and they pissed in a potty, that was quite prescient, I guess, for the rest of your life.
Yeah, to be honest, I should use that. But yeah, I used to be a waitress. I was a dance teacher, worked at Poundland. I just did anything for a bit of a bit of money, and I never really cared what job I did. Like, I worked at Pound Stretcher because that job paid more than all the other shops at the retail park. Other people wanted a job at McDonald's, but my job paid nearly £2 extra an hour. So I've always been more bothered about what life I can create outside of work as opposed to being bothered that I had to wear a Pound Stretcher outfit. But yeah, when I first started, it was money, and I wanted flexibility in my life because I knew going back into recruitment when rush hour traffic, sitting there for 40 hours a week, if not longer, and only having Saturday and Sunday to myself. And then Sundays tends to be food shop, cooking for the week, and your whole day's taken up before you know it. So money and freedom was why I started.
And so you hadn't previously been sexually adventurous?
No, like sex 3 times a week.
With your husband?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How old are you?
She was married young. She did not have this reputation in high school. There's people that said they knew her. You just can't know who's going to be a whore. This whole idea that, and I don't say this to be cynical, I don't. But I just have to be honest that it is a luck of the draw. You get to roll the dice. Somebody gets a terrorist. Somebody gets an okay wife. Somebody gets a lazy wife. Like, it's luck of the draw. And that's me being truly honest of what you're going to get. Because I've seen men that really tried. They tried the religious woman. They tried, like, I have seen guys come up with every which way strategy to not get fucked. And there is just no way to 100% prevent it. And that's life. You know, you can't have anything in life without risk. So if you want kids in this country, there's just going to be some risk. If you want a girlfriend or what, there's always risk. There's mitigation tactics. But the same way, you know, if I was telling a girl, I've always said that women there's certain plastic surgeries that I would actually recommend for women. I really would. There's some that will change certain women's life. I saw this one girl with this honker, this beak of a nose. And she did divorce her husband and get a nose job. She did. I wouldn't recommend the divorce, but we cannot pretend she's not going to have more options after shaving that honker down. We can't, the poor kids, right? But I'm not going to pretend. But if I was going to recommend something, I would say, hey, which women, if you're really dying for my advice of what to do, feel free, you can book a session with me on the audacitynetwork.com. I'll rate you. It'll be a lot of fun. I'll tell you if you should get something or your face is enough. But you would give a disclaimer and say, here's the pros, here's the cons. You could die from this surgery, so maybe not. You could look like really weird after it, or you could look good and it could change your life. That's marriage too, in the same way. It could go really well, or it could ruin your life.
So that is quite young.
Young, but I've always been very grown up for my age. So if I saw a 13-year-old now, some of them I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I even had sex at that age. But I was very mature when I was 13.
In terms of the group sex events that you're known for now,
yeah,
why did you start doing that? Was it because it turns you on, or was it because there was like a niche in the market?
It happened by accident, to be honest, the first one. Well, I don't just trip into, and end up in a gangbang, but I started off doing things like freshers and spring break. And I was at spring break in March last year. And loads of them had been saying it that, like, at the hotel I was at, like, oh, I haven't had a chance to sleep with you yet. You've not replied to my message. And I was leaving the following day. So I just shared my hotel room number. I was like, look, I'm going to be here. I leave at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Just queue up, bring your friends. Like, the door's going to be open. And that just naturally ended up in a gangbang. It got to like 3, 4 a.m. I was really tired. And I was like, look, whoever's left in the queue, look, just come all at once because, like, I don't want to leave you waiting. And that was the first time I did a gangbang, and I realized it wasn't what I thought. It wasn't dirty. It wasn't disgusting. These guys were having a laugh. They was high-fiving each other. It was more funny than it was sexy, to be honest. Some of them couldn't get hard. Some of them was finishing straight away. And I realized I loved the environment it created. It wasn't dirty. And I know people imagine it that way, but it was really just a fun experience for me and those involved.
If you haven't been feeling as sharp or energized as you'd like, getting your blood work done is the best place.
I I guess doing the big events and like shocking people. And one of the things that you do in terms of your social media strategy is you troll everyone, right? Like, and particularly,
I hate it when people say that you troll. Just because I have an opinion you don't like, it doesn't mean I'm trolling. It's like, I get that all the time, and I just think, do you guys have no humor? Nothing's funny anymore. You'll say something sarcastically, and they'll say you're trolling, and you're like, I mean, I'm telling it, that's part of, okay.
Yeah. You're often addressing women and like the wives and girlfriends of these men and really focus, like trying to get a rise out of people, trying to be controversial.
Yeah.
And one of the things, again, that I find sort of, as a woman, I find surprising, and having spoken to other women, they also find it surprising, is that you don't seem to mind women hating you.
No.
It doesn't upset you. You don't feel that need to be liked that most women do feel. It's another way in which, like, you've got the physical endurance, you've got the low threshold for disgust, you've got this appetite for notoriety.
Yeah. I don't hate women at all. I know it can come across like I hate women, and that's honestly not the case at all. But I say many times, like, women are very easy to wind up at times, and they're the ones that spend more time on TikTok than their husbands. So if I'm using a platform like TikTok, I'm going to sometimes make my TikToks for women because I know they're going to complain about it, they're going to sit and watch it, and their husband is then going to hear it. So my videos, when I do the TikToks, even though it's aimed at women, it's aimed because I know the husband's going to hear about this one way or another. And the things I say, it can come across very harsh. I do believe everything I say, but I will word it in a...
Like, imagine you're like, can you believe this girl? She's just offering sex to anybody. And the husband's like, offering sex to any? That's terrible. And then he just goes and does it. Yeah, I mean, the women that aren't sleeping with their husbands, we always want to mess around and find out.
Very, I guess, rude way at times, because TikTok, you've got about 10 seconds before someone scrolls off that, if not shorter. So I'm going to say it in the most brutal way possible to get them watching the rest of that video.
Do you have many female friends?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I know that can seem shocking, or people say, what would you sleep with their husband? Or what do your friends think about what you say? But they hear like the long-winded explanation of why I've said something. Or like one of the big ones is, about husbands cheating. And it was never your husband is cheating on you. It was just, if you're not having sex with him, he is probably going elsewhere and I will happily sleep with him. But it's never to say, look, I'm going to turn up at your house and drag your husband out of your home.
Would you feel a particular way if you'd found out that one of the people in the ski mask had been the husband of one of your friends?
Yeah, I would obviously feel bad, because I'd feel bad that their relationship had broke down a lot sooner before than what they would have realised. For him to have been at one of my events, it clearly doesn't have a good communication with his wife.
So you see a relationship in crisis rather than you causing crisis.
You will have some idiots and some men that will just cheat because they've cheated and they've got 2 brain cells, if that. A lot of the time, though, if someone cheats, there's a reason. There's a lack of communication, a lack of connection with that partner. I'm not the one to blame. I've never forced them to be there. All I've done is put the message out and said, hey, would you like to have sex with me? No one is forced. No one is, bribed to be there. No one's even paid. If a wife has ever been affected because I've slept with her husband, it sounds rude, but they need to look in the mirror. They need to look at the communication they're having with their partner. And I'm sorry they're in a relationship that's not happy, but I'm not the one that's ruined that marriage.
That's true, but you would be able to say a person who's a recovering alcoholic or a person who just has a tendency toward addiction, it is smarter for that person to not be around alcohol all the time. And if there was some imposition by the government that put alcohol on every street corner, this person would find it more difficult to avoid that. It's far easier to avoid temptation than it is to to keep yourself away from it than it is to stop feeling it altogether.
Makes it very easy.
And the increased prevalence of this, the increased advertising of this, may cause people to think, what's wrong with that? Like, it's more easily available. I can put the ski mask on. No one's going to find out.
For sure. It definitely is easy. I literally share the location. You just turn up. It'd honestly be easier for them to cheat on a night out, cheat when they're at work, because they know when they turn up, yes, they have a blue ski mask on, but they've got to bring their ID. They've got to sign a consent form. They've got to take their mask off to fill in the consent form and fill in the form. So it'd be much easier for them to cheat elsewhere. And I think it's a lot more hurtful.
I'm not sure if it would be easier for them to cheat elsewhere. I think what's referred to in the industry as a clean kill, which is one that has no digital footprint when cheating on your partner, is hard to be. Give me your phone number. We'll meet up at the end of the night, or there's the room key to the hotel that you've used. Or
I can't believe she talks about this like she's proud. I feel terrible for my past. That's from Tiffany in the chat. Do you really, Tiffany? Or do you have to feel terrible now? Who did you bang? Let's talk about it. Who did you bang? Who? Let me see what he looked like, and we can talk about if you really regret it. And let me see your current women always regret things when it's very convenient to regret. You know, I saw this woman who said, "Oh, I just had to accept that I gained 20 pounds when I'm pregnant." And I'm like, how convenient. How convenient. That's super convenient.
Concerns about CCTV, I get the sense that a lot of guys would.
I mean, I have 3 baby daddies. What the? You don't regret shit, bitch. Okay, let me get this straight. So one guy got you pregnant, and that wasn't enough to stop the poor choices and just close the legs. You did it again. Now you got 2. Now you got 2 baby daddies. And that still wasn't enough to stop. And you could have just had sex. You know what? Like, it's really not hard to not get pregnant. It's not that hard. You don't even really have to be on birth control. It's not that hard to not get pregnant. It's really not that. If you really look up tracking your cycle and you figure out when you're ovulating, so you not only let the men hit raw. So you not only said no condom. You also said no birth control, and you also said finishing me dead. You know, it's like, what? How did you think that was gonna go? Oh my God. Yeah, it's not. I was irresponsible. But come on, do you really regret it? Now you're saying you regret the kids. You're not supposed to say that out loud. You could think it. You could think it. Yeah, you better get some really good blowjob skills, because I don't know who's going to take you after that. You better gluck instead of 9,000, it better be like 50,000. Like the gluck. You got to make the you got to suck out his soul, because at this point, who's going to take you after that? Suck out his soul. I guess learn to cook, but you'd also have to cook for 3 kids, so you probably do know how to cook. Out of necessity at this point.
See ski mask on, briefly take it off, fill the thing in, put it back on, and get to do this as a repercussion-free way to be able to cheat on their partner.
Yeah, and I do get that.
She says, you'd be surprised. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. There's always somebody. Always.
But for them to have been there, there's a reason. If someone was really happy.
Men still want me either way, and at this point, I don't date around. Tiffany, what is want you? Is it them hitting on you? Men will hit on anything. Men will hit on, is it fucking? I mean, men will bang anything. What, did they propose? Are they like, you got to give me, like, what is want? No, I know you were married to the 2 of them, but now you have 3 baby daddies. Now you have 3. Do you want me to keep roasting you? Do you want more? Is that why you're giving me more details in the chat? I mean, such as men still want to get to know me, but I don't waste their time, and I let them know what's up. Of course they want to get to know you. You're like a super used, you're like a 1995 Honda Civic with 500,000 miles on it. They're like, this girl is free. They're like, this girl is, this is free. It's the wife's fault for letting the husband go out and nuzz full. I don't really think it's the wife's fault. I mean, it depends if she was sleeping with him or not. But men, they find a way to cheat. They will find a way if they want to.
They wouldn't have turned up. But I'm going to sort of contradict myself a little bit, because I think sometimes people cheat. It's not because they don't love their wife or their kids, but their wife no longer has a high sex drive, or they've had children and they feel a bit body conscious and no longer want to have sex, and that's okay. But your husband probably doesn't feel the same. Your husband's probably still wanting.
Someone did marry Riley Reid. Someone will marry Bonnie Blue. Do you know what? Because I really, from what I've seen, men will take a porn star over 3 baby daddies. I think gun to their head, they have to pick at least the porn star. Like, at least she's hot and she knows how to give Gluck Gluck 10,000. You know, it's on camera, her skills, so you can kind of see how good she is. You can kind of see, like, you could test drive it. You could see her previous owner's history. You could see what her history, it's literally on the internet.
Sex, and he doesn't want to sometimes hurt you by saying he no longer feels like he's being pleasured. So he goes elsewhere to have sex, meaningful sex. He's just having it. He's not cheating. He's just, well, he is, but it's not an affair. There's no text and there's no emotional connection. Literally coming to someone who's offering herself up and then going back to you. I think there is time people cheat and it's done not to hurt the wife, but if anything, the opposite, just to protect them and want to keep them happy in their own little bubble and not ever sort of pressure them and saying, look, hey, I want sex from you, else I'm going to go elsewhere.
Bonnie, I've heard you say that you can't condemn porn stars with your right hand while masturbating with your left hand.
What do you mean?
That if someone was to tweet and say, this is horrendous, how dare she do that, whilst also being a user of porn, that seems like a little bit of hypocrisy. Is that a fair criticism to try and square that circle in a way?
I think what you do, Bonnie, not just in terms of the porn, but also in your attitude towards money and towards independence and and actually egalitarianism. I mean, when you talk about like, I'll take any man, I don't judge, whatever, there's something very progressive about that politically, right? Like being super, super egalitarian. What you do is you actually take a lot of these ideas that are present in the culture to their logical conclusion.
Yeah.
You say, well, okay, you tell me the culture says that it's fine to be sexually liberated and to prioritize being an entrepreneur.
Notice her language. The culture told me to be the culture told me to be a whore. How convenient. How convenient.
And to not worry about all these traditional hang-ups, and you basically take that to its logical conclusion.
Take it to the extreme.
You do. And I think what happens a lot, one of the reasons I think you sort of rile people up is a lot of people who have a vague sense that that stuff is all good and fine and like they're kind of okay with sexual freedom and they're kind of okay with capitalism and egalitarianism. And they see that taken to its extreme and they go, oh, hang on, I don't like that.
Right, so you're saying that Bonnie is like the reductio ad absurdum of the sexual revolution.
Yeah, you hold up a mirror to the culture. I think is what it is.
Is it fair to say that Bonnie is just the natural end result of modern feminism?
Yeah. As well as other things too. But yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely the idea of prioritizing sexual liberation above all else and not seeing that. I mean, what you said about sex being a hobby, I think that is an important idea that the only reason we think that now is because we have reliable contraception. Obviously, before that, you couldn't think of sex in that way because
well, especially women, like they
exactly, yeah, it's because the risks are so high for them. But since the sexual revolution, we've come to think, I mean, in a slightly schizophrenic way, I think that people actually often think contradictory things, but they often say, oh yeah, whatever sex, like as long as everyone's consenting, that's fine. And then they see you doing exactly that. Everyone in your queues is consenting, you're consenting, and they don't like it. And one of the reasons I think that you're such a notorious figure is because you actually invite people to look at those ideas and think, oh wait, maybe actually that if I don't like what Bonnie Blue is doing, do I actually support sexual freedom?
Yeah, well, they sort of say one thing and then contradict themselves within 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And I always say not everyone should do what I do and not everyone will enjoy it. And that's fine. Like, I just think, especially as women, if you want to do something, do it. As long as it's above board and legal and everyone's consenting, do it. Don't care about what people are going to say. Don't care about the backlash. Like, care about the backlash if you're going to struggle dealing with it.
I actually agree with what she's saying, but not when it comes to sleeping with 1,000 men. I think maybe think that one over. It's like funny because I think that's why she's so weird as a person, because you've never heard a hooker make sense. You know, they're usually these like cracked out women, and she's out here giving life advice. You're like, what? Okay.
Something makes you happy, especially as a woman, like we're not restricted anymore. We can be independent.
Well, a lot of people.
Bonnie Blue, I think she blocked me. I don't know why. I of course I'd bring her on. What do you mean? Like, is it because I think would be the best guest ever? If I'm being honest, not really. I'm sorry, guys. No. I just think it would be entertaining, and I would do what all these other guys are doing. I hate to say it. I'd have to think it probably would make my channel lose a little bit of credibility, bringing out a hooker and interviewing her like that. I don't know. I'd have to think. It's not happening, so it does. I'd have to think about it.
Yeah,
Then they would try and stop you.
for sure. Everyone says I groom them to have sex with me. And then there was a massive argument because I don't pay the students I have sex with. And they said that's completely wrong. But then if I'd have paid them, they're suddenly a sex worker and then there's bribery involved. So I honestly can't win. And I think that's why I just don't care so much as well, because if I do one thing, it's wrong. And if I do the other, it's also wrong. And one of the main hate comments I get is, oh, if this was a guy, they'd be arrested. If this was a guy, they'd be in prison.
For the barely legal stuff.
Have, for sure. But
Yeah.
teen category has always been the most searched category in adult content.
Yeah.
But the only difference is it's always been the males that have been older. So all I've done is switch it. And now suddenly these women that don't care about these men saying they hate me because they're so concerned that if
Women hate sex workers because it takes away our power. Okay, so imagine you're dating a guy and you're like, I want you to give me your time, your resources, and your attention. And I want to give you nothing for a month, and then we can bang. And then Bonnie, or a woman like Bonnie, says, I'm here to fuck on the first date. Who is he going to pick? Now, you might say, like, imagine she hasn't slept with 1,000 men, but she's kind of slutty. That's how women steal husbands. You think I'm kidding? You think I'm ask any divorce lawyer? Slutty women, they've studied men. They got the experience to do it. So that's why women hate sluts, because it makes the prudes have to lower their price. It prices the prudes out of the market. Look, and because at the end of the day, why are the guys? Because why are the guys going to buy the cow if they get the milk for free? That is a true statement. It's a true sentiment. And the idea, I think, would be to encourage women to wait. But if you're the only one waiting and nobody else is waiting, you can pull it off if you're hot, or you were raised to be a wife, or you're really feminine, or the guy is, isn't really banging women. But then you get the same problem where women always want the guy that's banging all the girls. You know what I mean? It's like a cycle. This is the cycle, okay? Women want the guys that's banging all the girls. And those guys, the guys we like, they usually are not going to wait for sex. Then it pisses us off, so we're like... And then we hate on the whores, because the whores are giving it out for free, which makes everybody lower the prices. Like, imagine if you're selling a product, like you're selling cars, and your competitor is giving out free test drives. And now you might think, well, they have to buy a car eventually. Well, not if they get enough free test drives. Why would you ever buy the car? Why? If this rental just keeps going, they're like, oh, it's going to keep, why? For what? Why did you say Pearl would have Bonnie Blue on and scissor her? What is wrong with you? Why would you? What, you comment that again, you're getting banned from my chat. That's your warning. What is? Yeah, Bonnie gave 1,000 free drivers. I know, and the men really should thank whores more. If I'm being honest, they lower the price of the market for you. They really do. I'm not saying you got to marry them, but they're providing a service. It's a much needed service. I would say whores save marriages. They do, because what is the guy going to do that loves his kids, loves his wife, but she just will not sleep with him? What is the guy going to do? Like what? And what they'll try to say is they'll say, oh, he should just suppress his sex drive forever. They used to treat sex as a need, and that's kind of my problem. They really don't treat sex as a need, even though if you look at porn stats, it really shows it is, because you just substitute one thing for another thing. It's like the workaround. And we should thank porn stars to some extent because who knows, maybe they'd be out raping or they gotta do it somehow. I don't actually think they would. Please don't take that to heart. But these women do provide a service to some extent. And that's why more prudish women hate them. They hate them.
This was a guy that'd be arrested and he thinks things should be equal. Is it just look in the mirror? Google, go online. You'll notice it's always schoolgirls dressed up. Like, even when I was young, for Halloween, we dressed up as sexy schoolgirls. Like, schoolgirl has always been a thing. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but don't cry about it being a schoolboy if you've never had an issue with the schoolgirl.
You do, of course, do stuff with schoolgirls as well.
Yeah.
Which is quite controversial.
I don't have an issue with it. I never said I have. And people had a massive uproar when I did the schoolgirl as well. Yeah. Before it was an issue because it was the schoolboy. So it's like, you know what? I'll take both.
That's a good way to ensure that equality is reached across
I
the
think
sexes.
Chris Williamson is thinking the things I do to make money. He's thinking like the shit I have to listen to. Look at his face.
Is it empowering that Bonnie can do this? The right to say it's empowering?
I mean, I think that the whole, I don't like the word empowering. I think I think the whole idea of it. I mean, I think actually you demonstrate the problems with that whole idea that you clearly are being empowered, certainly financially, and in terms of independence and all the stuff we've talked about. But I believe you when you say that this is good for you and that you're happy and, you know, and the men in the queue are happy and whatever. I mean, there is collateral damage in terms of the wives and girlfriends.
For sure.
I was going to ask, have there been people you know who say lost jobs or got in trouble in some way from having come to one of your events? Because often they're not wearing masks.
For sure. No. And a lot of people say when these are, you know, they're 18 or they don't know what they're doing or they're going to make a mistake or they're going to regret it when they apply for a job. I've never known in a job interview, they say, hey, is this your penis? Is this, you know, was you entering Bonnie Blue on this day? Like, they're not going to see that. Maybe if you put your face next to mine, they went for a job interview, it might come up in question. But a lot of these people are filming POV, especially the students. And most of them don't show their face. And even the ones that are like, oh, I am happy to show my face. If anything, I'll ask them not to because I want them to feel really confident. I want them to feel really comfortable in the situation. But yeah, no one's going to give you a job interview, get up the sex tape and then go, that's your penis. And the other benefit of it is I sleep with so many people. Even if they knew you slept with me, they're not going to be able to pinpoint your sex tape or they're never going to be able to prove it's you. Because I always make sure, unless they really, really want their face out there, I keep everything really confidential.
So it's plausible that the amount of direct collateral damage that you're doing is quite low. I mean, there presumably will be some relationships that have failed and so on, but you would say that that's because they had already failed and this was just the catalytic.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily failed. Some relationships just don't work because as you grow older, you become different people. You have different interests or different hobbies. Like, it's not because a relationship has failed, just sometimes you're no longer meant to be with that person.
Sure. So, but the direct harm that you're causing to yourself, to other people, is probably not that high.
Yeah.
So then, which means that anyone who wants to condemn you on the basis of you harming people struggles a little bit. It's actually quite hard to point to someone who, like, Bonnie Blue has hurt, right?
What do you think the damage is? Where is the damage coming into contact with the world, in your opinion?
So I think the damage is cultural and social. I think the damage is...
Were you a virgin on your wedding day? Then shut up. I mean, that's just how I feel about it. You know, women like Bonnie Blue, I mean, obviously she's a super slut, but she's more honest than most women. And I just can't, the playing innocent, can we just cut the bullshit, please? You don't like her because she lowers, now you have to sleep with your husband. That's what you're really mad about. Can we just be honest now?
Bigger and kind of harder to pin down. It's not like you can just point to this person. If the only thing you think that is important is consent, then you can't really point to a single person and say, you know, but that's not my view of it. My view of it is that there's like you're contributing to a culture that regards sex as a meaningless hobby. And I think that that's bad.
Most women are hoes. Honesty is important. Yeah.
in a broader way.
I think you can have both though, because I feel like I have very meaningful sex, and then I can have some sex where
On
I don't even
camera,
remember
off
the name.
camera?
I've had some meaningful sex on camera as well, more when it's a boy-girl scene, because you're able to focus a lot more, it's a lot more intimate, and you have a great connection with them. But each one of my either sex tapes or sex events are very different. There's a different meaning and a different purpose of it. But yeah, with the damage I sort of cause, it's always from women speaking, saying how hurt they are, even though I've never touched them, I've never done anything. Yet the people that come to my events are nothing but grateful, polite, and say they've had a good experience. And a lot of these women that say, you know, I'm damaging, you skip 2 videos back and they're giving me death threats. They're saying, I want to turn up to one of Bonnie Blue's events and leave a black and blue. I want to make sure she leaves in a coffin. And I'm like, you're the one in the wrong. I've never hurt anybody, and I've never given anyone a death threat or said I'm going to beat you up or leave you black and blue.
I think from what Louise is saying, it is very difficult to pinpoint, okay, if we work very hard on consent and assume that everyone is allowed to take radical responsibility, including you, for what's going on, yeah, everybody is consenting unless there is some situation where a person is not fully of their mind or whatever the term would.
Yeah. All right, I've listened to this whore enough. That's enough, Bonnie, for me today. Shout out to the fan that requested this. I do take requests from fans, so if you do want to request something, send it to me on Twitter. I would like a thank you from you, please. I say your name, but I don't remember what it was. Pearl, but according to Pearl, unless you've been perfect your whole life, you can't say a bad thing is bad. It's a ridiculous take. Well, okay, I'll lay it out for you. I'm not saying you can't say a bad thing is bad, but if you have that energy for Bonnie, we should have the same energy for women not having sex with their husbands. And until the women start sleeping with their husbands, women like Bonnie are a solution. I'm being pragmatic here. Now, I know what they say. They say, but Pearl, if guys just, controlled themselves and kept it in their pants. And I'm thinking, do you guys know men at all? I mean, it's either they're going to do that or they're going to watch something. And then they got to make it anyway. So, guys have that drive. They're going to do it. The part of their brain that lights up with food also lights up with sex. So it just is what it is. But anyways, guys, make sure you like the video. Please subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.